see. It's not showing up. Just put it there a sec. Hey, we've got somebody, I think. Just bear with me, a knee shot, just while I'm setting up on the laptop here. It's going to be a bit of a bodgy stream, this. I just want to do something. I did say I was going to try and do some live stream, so I figure if I can try and share something rather than nothing, it's a bit easier. Because one of the problems is I'm doing that much filming it, well, that much fixing and filming. I haven't got time to do the editing at the moment. Yeah, I see we've got a few people joined now, so I'll change from knee cam in a minute. I am here, trust me, you can see my ugly mug there. Hope you're all alright. Hope you're all staying safe. Just give me a minute. What I'm trying to do here on the laptop is just get a chat window up. But for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be registering as a live stream on my channel. This is really weird. It's like because I'm recording from my phone. The interesting thing is on my phone, it actually shows the title. Ah, there we go. I think. Got some chat. I'll just change it to live chat. Just see if someone can see this message. Test. Let me know if you can see that test message. Perhaps reply if you can. If that works, it just means I can reply to you guys. If it doesn't, I seem to be streaming somewhere else somehow. I don't know. Like not on my channel or something. It's bizarre. Yeah, I'm not seeing any messages. That's really weird. Oh, hang on a minute. There we go. I see it now. I've got two. It's really weird. I could perhaps show you. Actually, there's like two tabs. Okay, so it's showing live. Just bear with me. Right, I see all the messages now. So I'll just scroll back a bit. Whoop, Gadget. Is it live or is it Memorex? Hi, Dave. At working afternoon, Chris. Chris, you well? Message from Riot Retro again there, no comment. Retro and Lim, hey, just installed my terrible Fire for CD32, love it. Yeah, so hi guys. So I'm just going to point you down if I can work out how to do it. I think it's that button there. So you can see we have an A4000 motherboard here. Now just bear with me while I just try and balance this the right sort of way in such a way that it doesn't fall into the hot air or the board. Yeah, I think that might just do it. Let's see if I can just move this cable out of the way here. Yeah, so it's a bit blue Peter, this. Certainly is. So this board, I'm not going to tell you everything about this board. I've done an awful lot of work to this board. I must have spent, well, I spent the whole weekend tidying it up. You can just see some of the traces here. If we just lift the board up a little bit. I'm sure this camera's going to fall over at some point. So yeah, you've been warned. So you can see some of the traces and things here have been tinned up, components replaced, some fixed wires down here. Lots and lots and lots of work done to that board. I spent the last 2 days solid on this board, hence there not been very many videos this weekend, although there is a video uploaded at the moment, actually be uploaded by the time this is finished probably. So that to the public once that's finished, once this stream's finished. I've got another video going up tomorrow for Patreon's early access. What else was I going to say about this board? Yeah, so this board at the moment is, if I put diagram in here, you can see it's got diagram in there at the moment. It passes all the tests. Something else to point out, actually, you might be wondering. See this here? Look at this. Look at the damage here. This was before it got to me. But the fast RAM works. I'll leave you wondering how I got that working. You can see that in the actual repair. So yeah, everything passes tests in Diagram. I can perhaps show you that afterwards, depending on what progress we make here. But what happens is you put Kickstart in there, it gives a yellow screen. You get a black screen for maybe 2 or 3 seconds, and then it goes yellow. So a yellow screen means an unexpected exception has occurred into the boot process. If it got further into the boot process, you'd get a guru meditation screen or something like that. You know, it'd be able to give you a bit more diagnostic information. But when you get the colours there, you know, like red or green or yellow, it's because something pretty critical has happened. So the weird thing is, like I say, Diagram, everything works. Boots into the menu, you can go through the CIAs, test the ARQs, the timing. You can use the different video modes from Lisa there, you know, scroll stuff across, show the different RG, you know, the coloured bars, different modes. Everything works, including the mouse, the joystick, the sound. There were some issues on this, but I fixed that as well. The RAM, all 16 meg. Again, that's been fixed. But you boot from Kickstart, yellow screen. So I'll tell you what I've done to this so far, because there might be people watching this who've got some really good ideas that can help me waste my time on this. I've swapped these 2 4 5s here. There's 2 here and there's 1 here. These 3, I think those 2 there are related to the data bus access to Buster, and I think this one passes some control signals and things. So 245s, bus transceivers, are kind of always nice to look at, you know, first thing to consider. Incidentally, the IDE problem on one of these boards, that was the first thing I thought about there as well. Ultimately, it wasn't a fault, as you'll find out later. So those have been swapped, just the same, exactly the same behaviour. Now you can see here, I'll just get you a little bit closer. Can you see here, this has been reflowed. It was awful. There was a little bit of corrosion there. So there could be something still there that's not quite making a good connection. What I've tried to do is, I'll show you, just measure on continuity test. This is always a good test to do when you've had corrosion on boards like this, actually. I'll just put it on beep. Test from the actual pin, top of the pin here, to the pad. Try not to actually touch the pin. In fact, that's a good test because I ain't got a join there, have I? Let's just try that again at a different angle. Sorry, I'm totally blocking the shot here. Yeah, I mean, generally with these, if you get, you know, these PLCC chips, if you get magnification, you can see very clearly whether you've got a little arc of solder, you know, going from the pad up the side of the pin there. Just try and catch up with the comments a bit here. I hope you're all well, by the way, and I hope everybody's staying safe. I'm on lockdown here at home. I'm classed as high risk, so effectively I kind of need to be isolated for 3 months anyway. I have been, if I'm honest, absolutely bricking it with all this stuff going on, but you've got to try and remain level-headed. There's lots of people obviously dying and losing their lives out there, lots of people seriously ill, but percentage-wise, this is one of the things that's perhaps not shared enough in the media. Yes, it's very serious and people need to take the lockdown seriously, but it's, what you're saying is it twice as dangerous as flu? So yeah, lots of people die from flu every year. I think what's made this one particularly frightening is how virulent the spread is, you know, how popular, you know, quick, how fast the spread is from person to person. So lots of people don't know they've got it, can continue to spread it. And obviously older people are at risk. You know, I'm seriously worried, as many other people are, about the parents. I'm worried about my mum and dad. I'm worried about some of the neighbours. I'm worried about Maureen's mum and dad as well. So anyway, I'll try not to go on a bit too much because I'm sure everyone wants to watch something else other than anything about COVID. Sick of seeing it on TV. So yeah, just catching up the comments, just bear with me. Yeah, I'm probably going to miss lots and lots of comments here as I'm going along because it's very hard to, you know, keep up. My hearing is so bad I can never hear the continuity beeps on YouTube. That was the Highlander, nice guy. You should watch his channel. What I like about the Highlander is he's totally down to earth. He says it. He says what he thinks. He says what he thinks. He's got no concerns about voicing his opinion, and it takes confidence. It takes confidence through that, and his opinion is good. He has a good confidence. He has a good opinion. I said good confidence. Right, anyway, the point I was trying to make is, yeah, measure from the tops of the pins to the pad, but, you know, visual inspection is what you need to do. That has been reflowed. So what else? What else could be going on here? Well, thinking about the boot process, what's different between what Diagnosing is doing and what Kickstart is doing? How can Diagnosing boot okay and not give us a yellow screen or some exception or weird behavior? And I think the answer is Buster. Can't be anything else, because Diagnosing, it's obviously booting some code there. Now, that tells us a number of things straight away. The fact this is boots, the data bus and the address bus and everything is fine. If we had a problem there at all, even perhaps with one of these 245s, if one of these 245s was interfering with the data bus or one of the control signals, it wouldn't even boot Diagnosing. So that's a clue in its own right that we can boot Diagnosing. We know the memories are okay. All 2 meg of chip test out all right. All 16 meg of fast tests out all right. That gives me some confidence that Bridget over here is not the issue. And the one thing you can do is, if you've not got Diagnosing, you could just stick your SIM in here, see what happens. Do you get yellow screen? And then power it off, remove the chip RAM SIM, because that's what this is here. Sorry, it might not be obvious. The 4 SIM slots here are for fast RAM, so you can put up to 4 meg modules in there and get 16 meg, and that first slot there is for 2 meg of chip RAM. Incidentally, you can put a normal 4 meg SIM in there. If you've not got the right type, and that's something I need to do a bit of research onto, but someone watching this might know more about it. The type of SIM you put into the chip RAM slot there is pretty important. It's got to have, and I'm reluctant to say this, but chips on both sides of the SIM. There's something specific about that. It's how it's routed. It's like they're in 2 separate banks. So if you put a 4 meg SIM in here that's got chips on one side and chips on the other, typically, not always, but typically, they're classed as 2 separate banks. And this is able to access one side, half of one side, half of the other, and go, you've got 2 meg. If I stick a normal 4 meg SIM in here that's just got chips on one side, it's detected as a 1 meg SIM, which is really weird. And I think it is to do with the sides of the board more than anything else. I think you can, I don't know, there must be, I don't really know, because I think the pins on one side go through to the pins on the other. So it's something to do with the type of SIM. I don't know whether the classes dual bank SIMs or dual rack SIMs. I don't know. I've read numerous different opinions on that. I need to have a look at the pin out of these and understand the specification there to work out exactly what's required. But anyway, long story short, if you remove that RAM, you boot with Kickstart, if you get a green screen, that shows that the half of Bridget that deals with, you know, it's got a lot of bus transceivers and things in there, hasn't it? A bit like these 245s. The half that deals with the chip RAM, you've ruled out as okay. If you've still got a yellow screen after removing that SIM and booting from Kickstart, that would kind of firmly point to something going on, perhaps with the data bus related to the RAM, perhaps. I mean, it could be an address bus or issue or anything really, but yeah, the fact that you don't get a green screen with that, with the chip RAM removed there, would give you that sort of insight really. But that's not what's happening here. If I remove the chip RAM and boot this with Kickstart, you get a green screen. Only when you stick the SIM back in and it starts to get a bit further into the boot process, past the chip RAM test, that's when we get the yellow screen. So that shows us, again, a number of things. It shows us that it's booting sufficiently in terms of, you know, the address and the data bus, they're all okay. We haven't got any compromise there. And when I say compromise, I'm talking about things right into that data bus when they shouldn't be. You know, for example, it might be trying to read from the ROM and something else somewhere, i.e. Buster, might be right into it. That's where I would class as a bus being compromised. Something's interfering with it. It's stepping out of line. It's speaking when it shouldn't, kind of thing, and speaking over the ROM, in layman's terms. So yeah, anyway, so you know, we've got some confidence there that it's getting so far through the boot process, it's testing the RAM. And then what's different about Diagnosing to Kickstart? Well, Kickstart, I guess, and I'm just guessing here, I've been using Kickstart 3. I'm guessing Kickstart 3 would do something with Buster fairly early on. It's looking at the cards, it's doing running auto config across you know, the auto config address space there, and looking to see what's there, presumably things like hard disk controllers and stuff like that. And I think that's what's going on. Anyway, sorry for all that waffle. So this is where we've landed. I think we're on this. I can't see, other than this being looking a bit fuzzy here, I can't really see it being anything else. So I think without further ado, I'll get my Captain tape out here and we'll start Captain taping off a few things. And this is not going to be easy for me, I don't think. Other people might, again, have some suggestions on the best way about doing this. The nozzle in particular shows quite small on my desolder station at the moment. Now I do have some larger nozzles, but I don't know, I think I should be alright with the smaller one. I'm isolating these chips and things here. I mean, that one's obviously got like a paper label, it could burn up. I'll just see if I can keep track of the comments here. We're still live, by the way, so everyone's still there. Because this is my first time trying it on my phone. Someone post a comment just to let me know we're still live. Anyway, I'm going to tape that off as well. Yeah, these things technically, like I say, perhaps don't need masking off, but this, you know, Captain tape, it's amazing stuff. This, it kind of reflects the heat. So even though you can point straight at it, on the other side of it, it's resilient to that temperature change. You know, that heat. It's amazing stuff, really. I suspect if you reused it too many times, it would perhaps stop working as well. I don't know, but I mean, when I finished, I usually peel it off and stick it somewhere and then reuse it, and it seems all right. The other thing I'm just going to do is just tape over those labels there, because I mean, it might damage them pulling that off, but otherwise they're just going to get toasted, aren't they? So we'll switch the hot air on. Now I'm not sure if I should be diving straight in here, because the other thought I had was to get some low melting point solder around this first. Just wondering. I think that's a good idea, actually. I'm going to do that. Switch the hot air off. We'll switch the Heiko on, and just get my little tray of solder here. Somewhere in here we have some low melting point solder. At least I think we do. Yeah, there it is. Just a little bit. It's actual brand is Chip Quick solder there. One of these fluxes came from Dermot Sweeney, actually. It was that one. I've not tried that yet. Have any of you guys tried that flux there? Lead-free tacky flux. It's from Circuit Works. They do a lot of those pens for conductive nickel and stuff like that. Circuit Works. That's the brand of the conductive nickel pen that I've got. So I haven't got much of this, but I think, and people will tell you this stuff's awful because it contaminates. You know, you get it mixed with your solder. You've then got to spend a while removing it. But I'm not too worried about that. We will spend some time removing it with some. God, it's a bit brittle. It breaks. Look, it just snaps. That bit's all right. Yeah, we'll spend some time removing it, cleaning up the sides of the chip, cleaning up the pads. But what I want to do here is least amount of risk. You know, I want to try and mitigate damaging the PCB here. Now, down this side here, we've definitely had corrosion. So, you know, that's a factor as well when you're removing these SMD chips like this from these boards. The points where the corrosion's been, you can end up losing pads if you're not careful. And it's not, you know, not from being too hasty or putting too much pressure or too high temperature. You will just lose them no matter what. It doesn't matter how careful you are. I found that with one or two of the pads amongst these boards, the bits that were super corroded. Yeah, in instances, the pads are just gone. So I'm just catching up with the chat here a sec before we stick that solder on. Every time you said Buster, my dog ears prick up. I take it your dog's called Buster. Yeah, fetch, Buster, fetch. If you look at the wiki for the sim, it explains the way differing buses require single or double banked modules. There we go, and even Neffers would know that. I'm glad he's here. So yeah, if you didn't see that, he's put a comment in there. Double or single banked modules. So yeah, you need a double one for this, and that's I guess that ties in with one of the comments on one of my earlier videos. It's a correction again. The 4000 board that I did for CAFers, I was well, CAFers told me, he said, "Oh, these sims are really hard to get hold of. I don't know how I'm going to get a couple of spares." So that was where I then came up with the comment. So all these sims can be quite hard to get hold of now. You know what? The normal ones for the fast RAM here, the single banked ones, they're dead easy to find. I found loads of them. I got a full set of you know, from different sellers. I got 2 from one seller and a couple from a few others. £4 or £5 each, dead easy to find. It's those double ranked or double banked ones that are a pain, an absolute pain to find. So anyway, let's just get a little bit of this on here, and you can just literally trail this. We ain't bothered about doing this cleanly. The flux is not really helping that flow, is it? It's like here we've got a problem. Now, my understanding is this stuff, it's like a bismuth based solder, I think. Again, post comments if you know more. So it's got a super low melting point, and it holds that temperature. So, you know, you can heat that to just like I did there, and you'd probably find that that side now is still molten for up to like 20 or 30 seconds. It looks quite scary when you're applying it, this stuff, it really does. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough to do this, but we'll just try. I guess the more I can get around the sides here, the easier this might be. The other added complication is if it doesn't mix very well with the solder that's there, it doesn't have the same effect. I'm trying to avoid just touching that slot there. It doesn't have the effect you want it to if it doesn't, you know, if you don't leave it long enough to get right there. Anyway, let's do that. The other thing you can do is you can reuse this as well. If you suck the majority of this off with the solder sucker later, you can reuse it at least once. I wouldn't reuse it too many times because obviously it's going to be mixed with all of the solder that's already on there. Now, you never know, if I'm lucky, we might not even need hot air to remove this. If I have got enough of this here and it's gone underneath sufficient mixed with the solder that's already there, we might just be okay. It might just be a case of just passing around the chip a few times and then it slides off. I'm not sure I'm that lucky. It's just not melting up here. There we go, it started to melt. Just checking the camera to make sure you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm sure it's a weird angle. You could just about tell what I'm doing there. It's not melting very well in the middle pins there. Right, let's just have a few passes around this now and just see what, if anything, happens. Trying to be careful. I think we'll end up using hot air, actually. I'll be surprised if it just starts moving around. And of course, the less you heat with the iron like this, the better, because you could start having problems with pads. Yeah, I think we'll get the hot air onto it. I'm not comfortable just continuously heating around that way, I don't think. It would have come off by now if it was mixing as well as it should be. But yeah, that will help, I'm sure. Yeah, let's get some hot air into it. This is why I put the title as or fail, because you never know, it may well be a fail. So it's going to take a few seconds there to ramp up. See, look at that, that's still molten, that. Just touching it with that, look. Can you see that? Sorry, I'm blocking it with my hand. See that? Still molten. That's the advantage with this. So I think it will make it a bit easier. I think as I heat this up, it will make it a bit easier. It's just going to be messy to clean up. Anyway, let's just see what happens. This could take a few minutes. It's going to start fuming, look. The flux is going to be burning up here. I need to get one of those extractor fans, I think. It's quite high on my priority list. It's something I'm perhaps going to use a little bit of next month's Patreon money to get just like a cheap little fan. Because, yeah, I've been finding that this flux is not helping with my breathing, actually. I don't know what's happened to it. The last few batches I've had have been like this, where it fumes a fair bit. All I'm doing with the screwdriver there, by the way, is just trying to push just a little bit, just to a point where I can feel it's, you know, it's kind of like on the underside of the chip. I'm not forcing it. Because if this gets up to temperature properly, and if the... I'm just thinking about something new. Yeah, I made this mistake yesterday. And I've talked about this before as well. Make sure your bore has got some sort of clearance. Otherwise you'll, at some point when the board gets up to a certain temperature, you'll start melting whatever's below it. I think the chip quick flux would be working here if I'd managed to get it to mix properly with the flux, sorry, did I say flux? Solder. If I'd managed to get it to mix with the solder that is already there. But I don't think that's the case. It's not merged very well. Oh, hang on, it's coming off, look. Yeah, you just got to be super careful, because what I don't want to do is lose any pads. Feels like sticking a bit here. Look at that big blob of solder there. Come on. It's just this corner. There we go. It's coming off. Look. Right. So I think what we'll do now is just carefully lift it and flip it. There we go. So actually, that wasn't bad, was it? That wasn't bad at all. Not too long either. Not very much heat. We've got some giant blobs there, so you can see what I mean now about being able to reuse that. Bear in mind it's going to be mixed with some leaded solder, but it will still have the low melting point effect there. Let me just find some kitchen roll. Hang on. Glad she didn't broadcast the smell. Nicely done, thank you. Yeah, that's my first time removing a buster, and I think I'd do it the same way in future actually, because if I'd not used that solder, if I hadn't used that low melting point solder there, I guarantee I would have been out that for, at the temperature I was at, 420, I would have been at that for another 10 minutes, I reckon, chip that size. And you saw some pins stick down here. There would have been a lot of pins like that as it started to come up, you know, because you heat one side and then this side's cooling down. So you've got to kind of like go around and round and round and round and round, unless you get a nozzle that is sufficiently large enough to cover the whole thing. But then you put in the center of the chip itself at a risk, kind of, in my opinion, because you're heating it for a long period of time, the actual chip body itself. So what I'm going to do now is just, and again I'm going to be blocking it with my hand here, I think, is just suck this up like that, and I'll clean the desolder pump out afterwards, and then just save that bit, just because I will be able to get another chip off another board at some point using that. Sorry if I'm blocking it, well, I'll just get the majority of that out of the way. Yeah, that big blob there's leaked into that chip over there if it's not created as any shorts. Can have a look at that in a minute. Yeah, so anyway, that's that bit done. I think with the remaining stuff that's on there now, I would just start mopping this up. So here's another recommendation for you actually. I've changed to this braid. I usually get just like cheap stuff from China that's like, I don't know, it's like £2 a roll or something. The same sort of size, the same sort of thickness. It's, what is it, about 2 millimeters or something like that, 2 millimeters in thickness. But this Kenwick stuff, you can get it from Farnell or RS. I think RS Online is where I got this, because I got some flux recently with it as well. Because these boards have just consumed so much in the way of flux and braid. I thought I'll try some of this Kenwick stuff, and I think it has a flux core or something. It's a little, because I mean it says there no clean, so I'm guessing it has a little bit of flux in there. So where normally I'd have to add a load of extra flux there, we might still need to add some. It tends to just work really well. Let me see if we can just turn this around a bit, and then you might be able to see a bit more of what I'm doing. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a bit far off there. I'll tell you what, let's just get rid of that now, because we don't need that. Rotate a little bit for you. I'll catch up with the comments in a minute, so let's just carefully go over these. That's not really the right way of doing it. Talked about this before. The reason it's best to go in, say, that way, like that with these pads, is because if you were to look at the left-hand side of them, there's a little trace that goes to a wire on the left-hand side. So they have support, they have more physical support from that orientation than they do from, I don't know, that orientation, you know, so, or the top way there. So by virtue of going that way, down this lot here, if you attach to one of them, or one of them's weak, and you know, pull it, you know, because that heat's going to affect the epoxy and stuff that these are, you know, these pads are stuck down with in the factory, you know, it's not really epoxy, they're not like stuck down, it's a layer, isn't it, that's epoxied as a whole, and then they etch the bits that aren't used. But yeah, going in one way is safer than going another. Yeah, that side's looking all right, I think. You can see that. Yeah, so just on that side there. So I'll just quickly try and do this one. And quickly is not really the best thing to be doing, actually. I need to be taking my time, really. Having said that, if you keep the braid hot like that, just slide up and down, you put in the least amount of heat for the least amount of time, aren't you? You know, instead of just focusing on one or two pads at once and taking longer. Sometimes moving it fairly fast. Just make sure you don't, let's say, pull the iron away and leave it to attach to a trace. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. I don't know whether I'm going to attempt to fit the socket on the live stream, or the other thing I could do is thinking of just cleaning up the chip, and we can test it in the other A4000 board I've done, because that one's got a socket already on it. Now I've got some sockets for this here, so I could put a socket straight on it. I'm kind of a bit apprehensive because, well, it's going to be really blooming hard, if I'm honest. And I'm going to have to get super close to the board. It's going to be like ear cam. You'll be able to see right into my ear. You know, you'll be like, Gadget, you've not washed your ears in the last week. And I'll be like, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to be blocking the camera here. There's no way to avoid this. I need to come in from that side there. I could try and move the camera. Let me try and move the camera a little bit. Hang on. Bear with me. So, yeah. And I can perhaps give you a bit of a wander around here. You can see all the I've got in here, as my wife calls it. Can you see the board there? Yeah. It's not ideal, is it, doing it this way? It really isn't. But, you know, if you just bear with me, give me some time, I'm going to try and get a couple of webcams in, which might help. No, I can't get the arm down there now. What I've got to do is watch out for this here. I mean, I shouldn't need to captain tape it off, but the angle I'm coming at here. Yeah, again, you can't really see what I'm doing. Let me rotate the board there. Let's try and move the camera a bit again. Hang on. Oh, this is awful. Let's give that a try. I forgot which side I was doing now because I've rotated it. I think it was this one. So I'm using the Heiko here from Dermot Sweeney. Really nice. I love this iron. And I'm getting better at using the really fine point. It's like a hook. That's the tip I'm using at the moment. It's like a little slight angle to the tip on it. I'm just finding it really easy. Just cut that braid back a bit. Let's catch up with the comments. Beeps, hi Beeps. Zorkos, hi. Zorkos, Stephen, hi. Mike Simcox, Andrew, little boy, couldn't resist buying that Heiko soldering iron after watching your previous review. Yeah, I'm glad you got it. I think it's really good. It's really good. I'm kicking myself that I didn't get one sooner, because I mean, it's expensive, but it's not compared to some of the totally top of the range kit. You know, you can spend a lot more on a soldering iron for sure. Should be going kind of that way really instead of towards me. Anyway, I think we're almost there now. So let's just rotate that around a bit. Let's get the chip off. So yeah, all of that crusty solder is going to need removing off there with some desolder braid. So I think that might be what we have to do next, actually. Let's just clean up with some cotton buds if I can find them. Where are they? Yeah, because I've got the camera set up here and stuff, I'm not used to working this way. I've got the Mac on the other side there for the chat. It's 121 watching, good God. It's because everyone's locked down, isn't it? That's the thing. I mean, you know, I've had some bad news last week as well. It's stressed me out no end, as you can imagine. It doesn't take much to stress me out, I tell you, at the moment. I'm now on furlough, so the 2 days a week, which is what funds my entire life pretty much, it's dropped to 80%. I've had a 20% pay cut. I've got to thank the government, really. It's funny, I don't really generally think the government do good things, but tell you what, that furlough scheme is a lifesaver, because the company I work for would have gone under. I was talking to my boss, and he was panicking as he was explaining it to me and saying, look, calm down, don't get upset, I've got some news, everything will be all right, don't worry about it. And the reality is, because many industries in the UK at the moment have ground to a halt because of the lockdown, sales from that business are non-existent, because, well, it's a recruitment agency. Trying to get people to start when everyone's at lockdown and no one's out, you know, they're not doing the normal job, they're working from home, etc., is near impossible. So if it wasn't for that scheme, the company would have gone under. I think the monthly salaries are like, I don't know, 50k or something. And it's like, well, how can any company exist when you've got 50k salaries each month for all your staff, and you've got no income because of a lockdown? So yeah, anyway, it's nervous. I'm a bit nervous, worrying times, but for the next 2 months, I figure that I can try and do some more things like this. May as well, as I'm doing these, because they take so long to edit. Why not just film bits of them this way, and we can have a bit of a chat, and it might just help people take their mind off things. And it'll certainly set my mind off things. Right, anyway, let's get a new cotton bud. So, how are you guys doing? Is anybody else on furlough? I'm interested to know, or locked down. I'm guessing you're all locked down, because what day is it today? It's Monday. That's the other thing, I don't know about you, but I'm losing track of days. It's only been going on, for me, this has been affecting me this way for the last 3 or 4 days, and you know what, I'm losing track of days already. Got to be careful with cotton buds, because if you put too much pressure on there like that, and one of those has got a little bit of solder just sticking up, before you know it, you've pulled a pad off. I'll give you a close-up on this in a minute. There's perhaps still a bit of solder to remove there. This side here is perhaps not as smooth and flat as it could be. Anyway, I'm sure watching this now, you understand why these take so bloody long, these videos. We've got a little bit of chip quick solder there. Look, is that attached to something? I think it is. Let's just remove that. It's probably just landed on a wire. No, it's gone now. Let's wipe it off on there. Yeah, so I will have to examine the extended area here. There's some under there, I think. Oh no, it's all right. I'm not going to reuse that tape. Let's just peel that off. Yeah, I'll stick that over there. We'll try and reuse that if I can later. So yeah, that's not looking too bad. I'll give you a close-up. Bear with me. I wonder if we can do zoom on this. Let me just try. Hey, we can do zoom. The magic of technology. You'd think I was a person born 40 odd years ago, wouldn't you? It's because I am. So I'll give you a look at that now before I finish cleaning that. You can see it's looking all right. So we lost no pads there. There's no corrosion here at all, well, that I can see. So that's always nice to see. For the eagle-eyed, you might just see, actually, I'll just point back at that, you can see a bit of corrosion there. I've blocked a wire there, but I've tested around here. I can't see anything wrong. It doesn't look great, and I haven't finished cleaning that bit up, but that is not the issue. Anyway, so I think that's all right for now in terms of cleanliness. We'll focus on that chip next, and then we'll perhaps, if we can get the solder off that chip, I'll wheel over there, take you with take the camera with me, and we'll try that buster on the other board. And if I got a yellow screen, I'd be so happy, seriously, because I've spent hours looking at this. What you really need, coming back to, okay, we know we've got a theory. It's the Super Buster, and to expand on that, to come back to my point before, what else could it be Well, nothing. There's nothing else in here. Lisa, for example, I'm touching Lisa there, aren't I? Yeah, Lisa, for example, graphics chip. Well, Diagram boots, the display's fine. You can do all the different graphics modes there. You can have text scrolling around. That shows us, I think it's using the blitter at that point, which is, I think Alice is responsible for some of that stuff. It's got the copper and the blitter in there. Alice is doing the address decoding for the chip RAM and some other stuff, and that all works. So you can kind of rule those out. Yeah, that's your video. Sorry, let me zoom it in out a bit. Hang on. Whoa, camera nearly went then. Trust me, we will drop that camera before the end of the day. The DAC here, yeah, that's Alice, by the way, probably in case you couldn't see that. The video DAC here, well, we're getting a delay. That's just responsible for converting the analog to digital. Is it the other way around? Is a video DAC digital to analog? Yeah, it's digital to analog, so you get analog outputs. Technically, you've got some RGB digital outputs as well, I think, don't you? From Lisa. I'm pretty sure you do. Oh, we've had a donation there. Thank you very much, Zarkos. Thank you very much, Xavier. The wonderful, amazing French chap who's provided me with all these. The irony is, you give me a donation, but I have it on my list of things to do to give you the money from the first two sales of the two Archimedes. You know, the I think when A3010 sold and A3000. So I've got that in my account. I'm just going to sort it out over the next day, maybe tonight if I can, if I got some time tonight. But don't worry, I'll send you that first bit of money. But that donation is very much appreciated. Thank you ever so much. So yeah, the video DAC, we know we're getting video output. So, and that's all this does. Doesn't relate to anything else. It's not like a pin on this could be killing something on the bus. And that's what you've got to look at. You've got to look at what a chip does. What does that chip do? And if you don't fully understand it, look at the schematics. And I've been doing that just to double check and to make sure, looking at, each, and the nice thing is with the A4000 schematics, each page deals with a certain thing. So, Lisa on one page and the connectivity and things around there, any little custom, not custom, but any jelly bean logic related to Lisa, it's generally on one page. You might just see the odd signal, inputs and outputs. I'll give you an example if I can find one that may be on a different page, and but for the most part you can kind of take each page in its own right. So I've got a page here, for example. This is one of the CIAs here. So yeah, you can see some signals here, and the direction of the what's the word? That little diamond thing there. It's pointing. You can see it's pointing to the right. That shows it's an input because it's coming into the chip, and then there's some of them go the other way, showing it's an output. So yeah, you've got inputs and outputs, obviously, that can go from one page to another. But most of the time, as you can see with CIA, any jelly bean logic related to it is on the same page. So you can see there's a couple of flip-flops here, an AND or a NAND, I think it's an AND gate, Schmidt triggers or something here, some what are those? Diodes, yeah, some diodes there. So yeah, you've got everything on one page. I'm losing track of what I was trying to say. So you've got to look at the functionality of which one each does. And coming back to why is it giving us a yellow screen? What else could be causing the problem? Well, it's like I say, video's all right, audio's all right, timers are all right, timers, CIA's up here, interrupts are okay, floppy drive works, IDE boots. So, just the IDE booting, I can tell you now from experience that are all related to the IDE. The other thing I'll point out while I'm here as well is if that fails, not only your IDE is affected, the system won't boot. And it won't boot because you're missing one of the DTAC signals that go to Gary, I think, or it might go straight to the CPU slot here, I'm not sure. That was something I discovered the other day. But in general, each little bit is kind of isolated on its own. There's, the relationship, certainly on the backbone of the system, the address and the data bus between each of the chips. But the very fact that everything passes in diagram, boot and kickstart, yellow screen, there's nothing else that's different. There's nothing else different. The only thing is that diagram does not test Buster. It's not like there's a test in there. It'll do an auto config, and auto config works fine. But that I think is the answer. So it's got to be this. And if it's not this, the only thing it can be. I started off by telling you I swapped out these the data bus transceivers here. There are 3 that do a similar job for the address lines here. So I haven't ruled that out. I haven't got a spare for one of these. I could order them. So yeah, that's a possibility. And also, I think this gal here. So I'll try and expand on some of these things as I go along as well. I'm going to be sidestepping a bit, but it just might make it a bit more interesting. When we talk about gals and pals and things, people are probably wondering what on earth they are. It's a programmable logic device, you know, PLD. That's where PLD, the terminology PLD comes from, programmable logic device. And I think GAL are primarily manufactured by Xilinx. Is that right? I'm sure Nethos can correct me. So I think, I'm not sure what the G stands for. It might be Gate Array Logic or something like GAL, Gate Array Logic, and the P is Programmable Array Logic maybe, or something like that. You could look that up. I'm probably not right on that. But the bottom line is they are programmable chips. So, you know, you've got this one here, for example. You've got what, roughly 20 pins, I think, around that. So using a series of equations, you can program, you know, create a JEDEC file that's got a series of equations that says, you know, this pin here is an input, that one there is an output, and then you can have an AND gate, an OR gate, a few other AND gates, a NOT gate, and you can basically, you know, take some inputs and feed them through those logic, the AND gates and OR gates and whatever else you've got set up in there, depending on how you define it, and you know, create your own little custom IC. And that's what these are for. This one here is for the clock division. I think it's clock division. Yeah, I think it is, because it's got a relationship to the 7474 here, the crystal, and the delay line. And then, so you've got these, and that's one of the worrying things when you work on an A4000, that there are a few of these on here. Now, the code for these has been provided. It's I was going to say done, but it hasn't. It's been released. The guy who created these, David Haney, on his website, probably 15, 20 years ago now, I think, published the JEDEC code for these. And the JEDEC code, you'll get a file that's its extension is .jed, and if you actually have a look inside, it's just the equations that define, let's say, what's an input, what's an output, and the logic for connecting all, you know, that goes in between those inputs and outputs. So that is available for all of these PLDs. I'm not sure about that one. It probably is for all these gals here. And if one of those fails, yeah, your big problem is A, you need something to program it with. B, you need the JEDECs. Well, they are available. And C, you need the replacement chip. That's the biggest problem really these days. I'm sure there are sellers that still sell some of these. If you know of any, let me know, because it'd be nice to try and get some spares for this. And likewise, the programmer can be quite difficult as well. But from what I understand, that TL, is it TL866 or something like that? Again, please post down below if you know the exact model number of that. That's Mini Pro, whatever it's called. I think that does them. So that is a really nice EEPROM programmer to get. Yeah, I'm sorry there's so much waffle here. Anyway, let's move that out of the way. I'll just put that there. And let's bring this chip in. I'll see if I can zoom a little bit. That's whoa, way too close there. Yeah, I'm going to have to move it over there, I think, and it's going to have to be at an angle. That's the best I can do. This is not Retro Man Cave. I do not have a full, you know, camera crew and what do you call it when the camera's on a thing, sled. I haven't got any of that sort of stuff. I haven't got a makeup artist or anything yet. So to start with, I'm just going to try not block the shot. We'll just clean the majority of this flux off, and then I'll just get the solder braid onto it, I think. Yeah, I'm going to be blocking this. There's really no way of doing this, I don't think, without blocking it. Yeah, you can just about see that, I think. Just gently. I don't want to, again, snag the pins and bend them out of place. Yeah, so hopefully you understood what I was saying there, and that exhaustive waffle made you understand why I think it can only be this. I mean, it could be some really obscure thing, some related to something else there, but you know, the fact that you can test all the other functionality and all that functionality is okay, you know, what does it leave? What does it leave? Well, the only thing Diagram's not doing is doing anything with Buster. I see an auto config, but I don't see a, you know, okay, let's do what Kickstart does as normal and query the Zorro slots. I don't know, is that the same as just doing an auto config? There's obviously something different going on. Auto config is definitely doing something different on Kickstart, otherwise we'd have the yellow screen or some other sort of error in Diagram. Anyway, that'll do. It's clean to handle. So let's just try and get the solder braid onto that. My hands are a bit sticky here, so let's just clean my hands. Let's try and catch up with comments. Hamilton TV, are you outside me? No rain in England today. Nice to see you. I don't think I've seen a video on your channel in a while. I might just have missed it. I've just been that busy with so many things. And again, apologies to any of the channels out there. If you've not seen a comment from me recently, it's just because, well, these Amiga 4000s have driven me nuts. I've spent so much time doing nothing but working on Archimedes and Amigas. It seems to be the bane of my life at the moment. I'll just show you something else actually that made me laugh when it arrived, if I can find it. Yeah, try and knock the camera over. Let's just zoom out a little bit if I can. Oh, there it is. Handle it's on top. Someone sent me that. It's a little Varta badge. Yeah, I can wear with pride. Varta, destroyer of motherboards. Anyway, let's just put that back over there. So, let me think about this. I'm trying to think the best, easiest way to do this so you can actually see it and I can do it at the same time. I think what I'm going to do is just use the helping hands here. If we just rotate this around. And I don't like doing this. I really don't like using these. See, these are like jaws of death here. You just carefully stick the chip in there. And then if we tighten, hang on, God, these things are awful to use. They seriously are. Yeah, there we go. I think you can just about see that. And I'm sure that's going to fall over. This is the thing with these; they fall over. You know, if you get the magnification bit the wrong way around, or the arms the wrong way around, the weight of it just pulls itself over. A number of times it's collapsed on a board when I've been trying to look through it. Right. So again, we use the Heiko here. I'm just going to get a little bit of chip quick flux on here. Yeah, I'm not going to win any awards for this video because it's like I say, dodgy camera, phone camera. I can just imagine the comments now. God, did you see that video Gadget did before on his phone? Good God. I'm focused on the side because the side is what's going to make connection with the socket. And again, I can't really see what I'm doing very well here. What we can do, just to speed things up a little bit, I think, is just go side on like this. Got to give it sufficient time, otherwise it won't wick anything up. It's one of those weird spatial things, you know, where you're trying to estimate or you're trying to judge whether you're at the right on the right position from a certain angle, and the lighting's not good. In fact, let me just switch the light on. Yeah, it's hard for me to judge whether I'm on it or off it or sliding off the bottom, etc. Because I'm doing this in the air, you know, it's kind of like upwards, and I'm at a distance. Just give it another pass. So let's just have a quick look at that side, see how that's... Yeah, hopefully you can see. Obviously the underneath, I would do the underneath as well, but that side there, that's looking all right. So we'll just rotate it around. Look at that scary side there. It's got a big blob look, big blob of bismuth, solar or whatever it is. Can you see that? Yeah, you can, I think. So I had to venture out this morning, actually. I was terrified. I had to go to Lidl because there were a few things we were getting low on. I was a bit concerned. We've got some stuff, like I've got a little bit of, well, we've got enough cat litter for 2 or 3 weeks, but trying to get new cat litter is impossible. Sainsbury's here in the UK are all like, you know, oh, you're not old, or you're not ill enough, so we don't care about you, you're not allowed to book deliveries. And in fact, there are no internet deliveries anyway because they're fully booked, like fully booked for the next 3 weeks or something. So trying to remain isolated for me, even though I absolutely need to, and I'm sure everybody else does, you know, we all really should be trying to stay isolated. It's not practical, is it? It's impossible. How do you stay isolated? The thing is, they're going about hoarding, food hoarding. If you're not able to get food, and you're not able to get internet deliveries, and the government's telling you to stay in a lockdown, what you're going to do? You're going to hoard food. The first thing you're going to do is go, oh, we need food. How are we going to get food? We can't deliver food. We can't get food delivered. Let's just get enough for a month or two. So the whole thing is just ridiculous in its own right, that the lockdown is making people hoard. But one thing I would say is everything's much better now. Supermarkets have got much more stock. There are many more people being taken on to accommodate the demand and the whole lot. It's just a bit better. The experience I had this morning in Lidl was great. All the shelves were full. It was fairly busy. People were keeping the distance. I was wearing a mask and gloves, and it's a long story. I bought some. One of these people like to plan for the worst. So about 5 years ago, I got some decent sort of hospital grade masks. If there was ever a nuclear fallout, believe it or not, I was thinking, I don't want to breathe in radioactive particles if there's a nuclear war. So yeah, I had some of those, and I've been giving those out to friends and family. The privileged few, unfortunately, I didn't have enough. I'd be giving them out to everybody, including my patrons, if I had enough, but I didn't. I just had a box with just a small number of them. So some went to my mum and dad, Maureen's mum and dad, and then it's the vulnerable. One of my neighbours, for example, has got a pretty severe illness. She's got a problem where the muscles weaken. I forgot what they call it now, and the bones. She's got very brittle bones. She falls, she breaks something every single time. She's had that for a number of years, and she's obviously terrified. So one of the first things I did is go around to give her a number of masks, because she has regular hospital visits. I said, look, next time you go to the hospital, just wear one of these. It might just give you a bit of protection. It might not work, and if someone gets the thing, if you wear it, it might just help, contain the spread a little bit. Anyway, sorry, we're going on about COVID again. The idea is to not talk about COVID, not mention the C word, and I've just realised I'm overdoing this. If I was doing this now myself, I'd have just gone over this twice and inspected it and gone, yeah, it's all right. It's because I'm waffling. There we go, that's that side done, I think. Yeah, I might need to revisit one of these. I'm not sure which way I was going now. I've lost track which way we were going. Let me just inspect it, hang on. Yeah, that side still needs doing, I think. That one's all right. That one's all right. Yeah, there we go. So that's the final side there. And it's not hot. This is the thing. If you heat it for too long, obviously the chip will get hot, and hot is not a good thing with ICs. If it wasn't working, if it wasn't broken before, it could be after you've finished overheating it. And I guess this is also where wider braid could help. This 2mm braid perhaps isn't quite thick enough for the size of the pins there. Let me just trim that back and just give that one final go, and we'll just clean it up and we'll go and test it. And then I'll perhaps finish off by just, I don't know, showing you a few random things around the room here. You can see the horror that is the conservatory. I swear to God, my wife's going to kill me one of these days. I mean that. Seriously. She's like, what's all that junk in the conservatory? It's all shit, stick it in the bin. Tell you, if I die, for God forbid, I hope I don't, she's going to end up binning a lot. I'm going to have to think of something to stick on my will. Like, don't bin it all. Get someone from YouTube to help you sell it. Here we go. Come on, we stuck there now. I'm sorry I'm missing all these comments. It's going to be one of these look back and I think, oh God, I missed that question, that point there, and etc, etc. So let me just have a break for a minute. I'm just catching up. Let me scroll up. Hang on. Not wearing masks or gloves, just risking it. Yeah, I think, it depends when you can get them. This is the problem though. One of the things I said the other day to one of my friends actually is, why, when this started, why wasn't the first thing to do to shut down the borders with, China? It's coming from China, why not just stop transport to and from China, regardless of the cost to industry and all the rest of it? And the other thing is, why not as a very early thing, just, rush manufacture a load of masks and gloves and send to every single household in the country, or allow them to be purchased super cheap from your doctors or somewhere, masks and gloves. Because Yes, they don't work 100% because, and I think, you know, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biologist or whatever, a doctor. My understanding is it's about the size in microns and they're down to like, is it 0.1 or something? And these masks only work to 0.3. But that's not really the point. It's all about the you know, it's a bit of a risk aversion, isn't it? It's like when you're wearing a mask, if some droplets of water with some contaminants are floating through the air, even if they are 0.1, the droplets may well absorb into the front of the mask, so thereby, you know, negating you getting ill. Anyway, I think there's going to be a lot of lessons to be learned from this. Just, I wish it'd go away, and I wish people weren't getting so ill with it. Oh, good God, this is really sticky. It's like it's been soaked in sticky toffee pudding or something. It's that bad. I'm just going to get the majority off like this. I'm going to brush it, get the toothbrush onto it. Again, ESD, you rub things with cotton like this, you can generate ESD. It's the first time for everything. One of these days I'm going to damage something with ESD. It will happen. Right, hang on. It's just mysterious beeping in the background here. You can see there where I burnt that map previously, in a previous video. That was from not having the board raised up. And look, I didn't set the carpet on fire. Something you've got to take careful, seriously. On the same subject, IPA, you know, keep your IPA well away from anything flammable or hot, like a soldering iron. I read an interesting story the other day. It was, I think it was my wife pointed me towards it. A guy in Argentina had apparently burnt his entire house down and blown up half the neighbourhood by making hand sanitizer out of IPA. You can do that. I use this, actually. I've got a fungal infection on my leg. Yeah. Too much info? Yeah, fungal infection on my leg, which I've been treating with IPA, actually, because the stuff, the cream the doctor's been prescribing me just does nothing. Keep going back and he's like, try some more, try this, try that. It doesn't do anything. Stuck some IPA on it, you know what, 24 hours later, oh my God, it's 20% better. So I've been treating it with IPA. Yeah, you can use this for anything. You can make hand sanitizer out of your IPA. It's good for treating wounds if you get a cut. It's a bit like iodine and stuff, you know, obviously it's good for that kind of thing. But I'm not telling you to do that. Research it yourself and make your own decisions, and you know, I'm not a doctor. But it's alright for me. Yeah, there we go. It's sufficiently clean that now. It's super wet. I'm totally overdone it, again, because I'm on the stream. Normally I'd have finished this whole thing about 20 minutes ago, probably. My big problem is, well, I guess it's because I'm a man. I keep, you know, I can't do, as soon as I'm talking, I end up overdoing things. If I'm doing something at the same time, I'm doing it 3 times instead of once. Because I'm not thinking about what I'm doing, I'm thinking about what I'm saying. There we go, that's okay, I think. So I'll just dab the sides of it. Yeah, so hopefully you can see that. That's looking pretty tidy. Yeah, I think that should be okay to fit into that socket. I don't see any blobs of solder. Just the underside that I didn't really go over. There's probably still a bit of that awful bismuth-based stuff on there. But anyway, so I'll carefully just put that on the other board to avoid me carrying it with, you know, getting static when I'm walking around. And then we'll just go over to the other side of the room and try it in the other board, I think. Where's my PLCC extractor? I think actually I might just try and lever it out. I shouldn't do, but I might just lever it out. Switch that off. Switch that off. Right, are you ready to go walkabout? This is going to get very bouncy. Here we go. So I mean, I can show you some of the stuff here. This is my this is my working area. What a mess. That solder there, that came from a friend of mine, Dr. Andrew. Can't tell you his whole name, but yeah, Dr. Andrew. He had a house clear out, and I'll show you some of the other stuff he's given me, but he gave me that roll of solder. He went, is this any good to you? And it's proper 6040, you can see there, 6040 tin lead. I'm not sure if it's got flux in it. Yeah, it has. Sin hang on, maybe it's not. Multi-core solder. But anyway, look at the size of that. That's going to last me forever. It's a good job because that one's, yeah, it's fairly low, about half done. So you can see I've got all sorts of junk out here at the moment. I've got the solder hot air station there. Look at those caps. Those are all those caps I've removed from the A4000 motherboards. Anyway, let's just carry this board over there. Yeah, junk. Massive roll of bubble wrap. Let's just stick that there. Not the safest place to put it. Just carefully stick that down there. In fact, I'll give you a bit of a rotate around the room. You can have a look over here as well. So I've got a load of these to show you in an upcoming video. Some really weird drives here. Let me show you one of these. These are strange, super strange. I've never seen anything like it. It's a 3.5-inch drive and a 5.25-inch drive together with like one connection on the back. It's like, what? What the hell's that? Tape drive, you can see at the bottom. Anyone got a tape for that? HP Sure Store. It's a SCSI. If that's good to anybody, let me know. It may not work. It may need repairing or servicing, but I've not got anything to test it with. And you can see the PC there for that. So I've got a PC there. I've got another PC there. I've got an ST here. I've got a box from Canada here. That's the box the 4000s were in. And then I've got those that are about to sell. And then I've got all that lot over there. I've got this from Novabug, PlayStation 3. I've got a PlayStation 2 Slim there that belonged to Alice and Chalice. And then from my friend Andrew, we've got another C64. I can't wait to get that, get to work on that, get that out. It's quite heavy as well. Spectrum Plus. There's a 48K Spectrum somewhere around here. I don't see it. I think it's probably under that. Some tapes, a couple of Archimedes keyboards, and then I've got a box there from another one of my patrons, some Acorn stuff. There's some books and a Scion. I'm trying to think which one it is. It's like it's the not Apple. It's the Acorn version of one of the Scion organisers there. I can't remember what it is. We'll have a look at that, and I think that needs repair, so that'll be really interesting. And there's numerous other things in here. I've just got so much stuff that, you know, I can't show you everything. I've got so much stuff that I need to be getting on with. In the other corner over there, I've got a PS1, Mega Drive, and a SNES as well. So we're certainly not short of things. In fact, there's also a board arrived from Neffers, not Neffers, what's it called? The guy who I fixed his that A2000 board. Can't remember his name now, but yeah, I've got that. I haven't opened it yet. That's an A500. So we'll switch the power on. Yeah. Right. So what do we need to do now? I think the first thing is we'll power this up. I'll remove that off there. I don't want it to short on anything. Let's just make sure everything's okay. So this one wasn't working with IDE before. It is now. So if I switch that on, got the real-time clock missing, but I think that should boot. And if I point it with the screen, let's just see what happens. This is obviously with its existing buster, so this one I know should work. It should boot on this one. Andrew Clegg, that ST box looks familiar. I think it might be Andrew Clegg that sent it to me. Thank you if it is. Just sorry I've not had a chance to have a look. I've got to clear this backlog. Got to get rid of these Archimedes. The A4000 was again just something I couldn't wait for, honestly. Stephen Leary sent me these and I could not wait to get on with them because he did say I can keep one. So I'm going to give him the choice between them. Neither of them are perfect in terms of the fixes I've had to do to them. They're a bit unorthodox, as you will see when I come to those videos, but they are, well, hopefully should be 100% functioning. So anyway, that works. So let's just try. Yeah, I'm not going to use this PLCC extractor. I'll tell you why. Because these sockets are quite low profile. And we'll try it. No, I don't want to risk it. I've managed to get this out before, and this is what I tell people not to do. Not to, you know, just lever it a little bit. If you do it really gently, like that, and try and just a little bit. Hang on, is that coming out? What I'm trying to do here is not, there we go, not put the pressure on the outside part and just try and, there you go, focus on lifting it at the same time as levering a little bit. There we go, it's coming out. It's kind of stuck on this corner up here, look, there we go. Right, that's out. If it had been a full depth socket, I'd just go at it with the PLCC extractor, I think. There we go, so that's that one out. So that's a Rev 9 buster. The one that we've just cleaned the legs up on is a Rev 11, so let's just see what happens. I know what's going to happen now, this is going to work in it, and I'm going to be gutted. Right, let's switch it on. Pin 1's right weight, that's correct. Let's just take that off there, I want that on there. Oh, I'm gutted because it's working. Oh, God. I don't know what the hell is wrong with that other board. It's enough to drive you to despair, seriously. It leaves nothing, it leaves so little in terms of possibilities on that other board now. The only thing I can think is, it is something to do with one of those 3 address, what's the word, transceiver, those transceiver chips. I think they are anyway. It's got to be. That must be what, unless it's, I hope it's not that. I hope it's not that. It could be that, thinking about it. Could be that. Yeah, somebody who's professional at this, I'm not. I keep saying this a number of times, and you might think I'm crazy, but I'm not. I am not a professional at this stuff. I am a novice. There's lots of things that I'm learning all the time. And somebody professional like Stephen Leary, for example, and Stephen did offer, he did say that if you can't get anywhere with that yellow screen, let me have a look at it and I'll get it on the logic analyzer. And that's what it needs. It needs, if you get a logic analyzer on this, you need something that's got sufficient number of channels, because you've got 24, well, 32-bit if you think of the processor that's on here, but 24-bit address bus and 32-bit, well, actually it's 32-bit, isn't it? Because you're going to have 32-bit data bus on this as well. So you need a logic analyzer with a lot of channels. Just for the data bus alone, 32-bit, you need 32 channels. If you start scoping some of the 16-bit stuff on here, yeah, you can manage with 16 channels, and I do have a 16-channel analyzer, but the data bus is no good when you're just looking at the data bus on its own. You need to be looking at the address bus as well. You need to know where it's actually addressing to make sense of what's going on with the data bus, and you need to understand the backbone of the system. You need to understand all the address decoding and and the opcodes and all the rest of it. So, yeah, it's out of my. I understand all the the techniques and the technology and all the rest of it, but in practice, yeah, I would really struggle with it. Even if I had the right kit, I would really struggle with it. Because if you did something like that, you could see where it's going wrong. In the boot process, you could see exactly where it's going wrong. I mean, the interesting thing is now that board's not got that chip on, it's still going to give a yellow screen, isn't it? That's the thing, because we discovered that when I looked at that board for Cathars. When you remove the superbuster, you do get a yellow screen. Might just have a look at the schematics and run it past you as well. But I'm thinking, the only other thing, and it's a long shot, this chip here, it's I think it's an F86, isn't it? 74F86. So it's an XOR. I think one of the clock signals comes out of this to superbuster. Now I think on this board, this had a faulty IC around here actually, but yeah, this is no, it was the other board. It was the other board that had a faulty IC around here, but it wasn't the 86. It was that one. It was the 04, I think it is. So you never know, maybe. But I probed that with a logic probe. Let's just you see what I need now. I need the opposite. I need that socket on the. I need the socket on the other board so that I can try this buster with the other. But that's not going to reveal anything, because if there was a problem with buster, we'd have got a yellow screen on this one. We haven't. Could have been a bad connection, that's the other possibility, because we had that corrosion there. You never know, by the time I get a socket on there, it might work. Anyway, I'll just go and see if I can find that page of the schematic. We'll just catch up with the comments, and then I might just have a bit of a break, go and get something to eat and stuff, and we can always pick up later or tomorrow or something, I don't know. So you can see the Mac there. More junk. So, let me just see if I can find those schematics. Sorry if I got motion sickness when I was bouncing the camera around there. Yeah, here we go. The other thing I would say to you is if Thank you for the donations, by the way. I've just seen somebody else donate. That's much appreciated. Simon Zarafa. Just kind of catch up, scroll back a bit. Hang on. Oh, Retro Game Revival, £10. Thank you ever so much. So much appreciated. Especially because, let's say, I've had to take a 20% pay cut, so all this is really helping out, and it's yeah, it just means I'm not going to go off the rails. Sean Connolly, 20 quid. Oh my god, that is, I tell you what, you guys, that is just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And Zarkos, £10. Oh wow, it's like Christmas Day. Alex Quant, £5. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's just keep going back. Good God. Yeah, hopefully I've not missed anybody there. It only goes so far back on the chat thing there, so I'm hoping I've not missed anybody. If I have, I'll make it up and mention you when I realise. So yeah, looking at the schematics here, so there's Fat Buster. Where's that thing I was on about? Yeah, here. So can you see here, 7.4, I think that's F86. So you've got 4 gates within that one chip used here in with those signals going in. So I'm trying to look what those are. You've got, is that CDAC? Let me just have a look under magnification. Hang on a sec. Yeah, I've got CDAC, C1, C3, 7M. That must be a 7 megahertz clock. So yeah, you got you can see that there. CDAC, C1, C2, and there's a number of things come out of here. You know, there's these 4 signals here, and 7M. I mean, I'm going to be kicking myself if it is that. If I have to swap that 74F86 and it takes me 2 minutes and it's 50 pence, and I've spent all this time with removing that blooming buster, I will be really, really, really annoyed. But having said that, I kept looking at that board going, well, it's got a Rev 11 buster, but it's not socketed. It's always better to have it socketed. It's always nice to have it socketed. The other thing is, the other reason that was niggling in my mind, the fact it's got a Rev 11 and it's soldered on, is one of these boards is going to go back to Stephen, and I was kind of thinking, actually, it's better for him to have the better board, so he can pick whichever one he wants, and now this is going to be socketed. He can have the Rev 11 buster, assuming it's not the buster. Well, we know it's not the buster, that board's booting now. Obviously, we're not testing the buster because I've not got any Zorro slots on there, but it's not yellow screening. So the nice thing there is it means Stephen can have that Rev 11 buster on whichever board he chooses. So yeah, coming back to these schematics, so we've got that one chip there, 4 different gates within it. I'm going to order one of those next because I don't have a 74F86. It's one of the few that I haven't got. This worries me a little bit as well. Expansion half of Bridget. There's a possibility this part of Bridget is faulty. So, and I'm not sure how to diagnose it. I can probe with a logic probe these pins here and see if anything's stuck. But you know what? We know it's not going to be stuck. The reason I know that is because you can boot diagram. If one of these was stuck all the time and something, you know, some of the data bus was routed somewhere it shouldn't be, that would manifest in behaviour. You'd see problems with graphics, or it wouldn't boot at all. It would kill the data bus. And we're not seeing that at all. It's like everything runs. So, yeah, I'm thinking maybe not that. Maybe not that. And then up here we've got some of the 245s. I think there's 2 there and there's one up here somewhere. I forget where it is now. Is it that one? Yeah, those 3. So those 3 there have been swapped. We know it's not those. Just leaves these ones here to do with the address and the PAL. So we've got a PAL there. Yeah, that PAL could be the issue. The only way I can diagnose that again is I can probe it, I guess. I can have a look to see what signals, because I think this is going to be providing some of the control signals. Just looking at that, I could be wrong. I think it probably is. Maybe not, but it might be to do with the, you know, chip. It might have the chip enables and output enables and things for some of these chips here coming from there, but some of them might come from the buster itself. So yeah, the annoying thing is we could probe some of that stuff now, but I haven't got a socket on there, have I? I need to get a socket on for that buster. What I might do is just take a break for a little bit, and I might come back in, I don't know, about an hour, and I might film me having an attempt at putting that socket on there, because if we can do that, we can get the chip back on, prove how it's either going to work or it's not. It's either going to be yellow screen or, you know, in an amazing scenario it suddenly works. I can't imagine that's going to be the case. And we'll try and get that socket on, and then once we've got that on, we can perhaps get the logic probe out and start probing a few of these things here and see if we can get any clues as to what might be going on. I have probed this previously, the 86. It's hard to make sense of though. It really is seriously hard to make sense of because the gates are all going into each other. It's an XOR, and I'll be honest, I find XORs the confusingest of logic gates at any point in time anyway, even if it's on its own. Because I always forget what the easy way to remember it is. It's exclusive OR, isn't it? So you can only have one or the other giving you a high, I think. Yeah, that's right. So if you see if you've got high on one of the inputs, you should have a high on the output. But if you've got highs on both of the inputs, you shouldn't get a high on the output. That gets a little bit confusing when you've got two clocks. You've got a clock and a clock. On the other side, what do you see? Well, you see pulsing. But then you're left thinking, is it right or not? Do you see what I mean? So you can sometimes, unless you're doing a logic analyzer capture, and I could do that. With my analyzer, I could do that. But it's probably far easier just to order one and swap it out, I think. Anyway, so I'm just going to catch up with the comments, and then I'm going to go take a break for a little bit, actually. I'll just get a drink, and I'll come back in about an hour, I think, when I'm, I don't know, what time is it? Yeah, we've still got time yet. It's not going dark yet. And perhaps try and fit the socket. I've got the sockets here somewhere. I don't know what I've done with it now. Oh, here they are. Yeah, I'll show you. The question is, and again, you know, I'm not really sure of the best way of doing this. Should I remove the plastic thing on the underside? Oh God, those are stuck together. There we go. Yeah, so I think it's 86 pin or is it 84 pin? I can't remember now. It's got to be, it must be 84 because you've got to divide it by 4. Yeah, 86 wouldn't divide by 4. And interestingly, that's how you can work one of these out. If you never know what size PLCC socket you want, just count the number of pins on any one of the 4 sides because it's square, so you'll have the same number of pins on every single side. A good example is a CIA socket. And count down one side, it'll have 11 pins. It's 44 pin. So yeah, and then you can just do a search for 44 pin PLCC socket, and you'll find through-hole ones that got pins on the underside, and you'll find surface mount ones like this, SMD ones. So yeah, post your thoughts below. Do you think I should cut this out, or do you think I should try and get some flux down there and use the super fine point on the iron and try, this is the thing, it's not on this at the moment, by the way, it's been switched off for a while. Try and solder the points. The big problem with that, when I tried that on the Archimedes, that's a bit loose that actually, when I tried that on the Archimedes, the solder on this point here, I need a fine tip like that, but the solder sort of sticks up here. It doesn't go on the tip. So you're like, you're touching the pin and there's nothing coming off, the solder's just up here. So you add some more solder and you're touching the pin and it's up here. Even with flux, it doesn't flow down it. The only way I found you could do it is to literally touch the pin and then feed the solder in, and then you start bridging pins. So, yeah, what are your thoughts? Should I just cut that thing out? Or should I cut some of the struts out to make it a bit easier? So, what I mean by that is, I could cut, I don't know, I could leave the corner ones, leave one near the middle, and then cut a couple, 2 or 3 out here, cut the little pieces of plastic out there. That would give me a lot more space to do that. Don't know. Let me just have a look at the comments. I think we had another donation there, so thank you very, very, very much for that. Yeah, oh my God, super good. $20, that's fantastic. Hey man, here you are, all the way from Boston, expanding my career to become an electronics engineer. Quick question: do you use lead solder? If so, what is your reasoning? Because I thought that's out of code. Yes, it is. I think if you're gonna manufacture things yourself and do things properly, have a business, technically, you should be using lead-free solder. Because as you say, it's out of code. It's like, the standards, health and safety standards and manufacturing standards and standards related to pollution stuff. So you shouldn't really be using leaded solder. But for rework, just the spot repairs, things like this, replacing a chip, replacing a socket, leaded solder it flows better. It's I think it's more hardy. The joint seems more resilient to me. And it flows better with flux and stuff like that. I just find it just looks better and it's easier to use. Having said that, modern lead-free solder is better than it used to be. So I would say try lead-free solder and just see how you get on with it. But personally, I find it doesn't it doesn't solder as well. It might obviously depend on the flux you're using. And I'm getting a blooming sore throat here. ZX Kim, £5. Thank you very much, Kim. Super appreciate it. It's actually Kim's idea about doing a live stream today. I was already on the job. I was already like looking at my phone and trying to work it all out a few hours ago. But Kim kind of convinced me really by saying on Twitter, you should do a live stream. You should do something on an Amiga. And I think he mentioned actually, or she, I'm not sure, mentioned I should do an A500++ teardown. So yeah, that's was a really good idea. Not a teardown, a build. Anyway, I'm waffling on. So thank you very much for joining. Like I say, I'll perhaps be back I will be back in an hour. Just give me an hour, just to have a bit of something to eat and get a drink, and we'll reconvene and see if I can get that socket on. In the meantime, have a think about how best to get that socket on, and let me know, because I'm dreading it. So I'll see you guys soon. Thank you very much. I'll be back in an hour. Thanks.